Hey everyone, Jan here, codingwithjan.com. So the other day I was talking to my developer friend Matt, and he's doing really well. He's like 25 years old, has a very successful app running. I think it's doing about 30,000 a month in recurring revenue at this point. And he also gave a great talk at Shopify Unite this year. So I was really curious about his story, how he got started, how he runs things nowadays, and how he comes up with new app ideas all the time. So I thought some of you might be interested in that as well. This is going to be the interview. There are not too many visuals, so maybe it's even better to consume as a podcast. But yeah, I think the advice he gave was really good, and I hope you find some value in this. So then let's have a look. All right, Matt. So you're 25 years old, is that right?
Yes.
And you have several apps running, some of them very successful, one maybe a bit less, but you're making about 30,000 in monthly recurring revenue. Is that right as well?
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. I think today we got a lot to talk about. And before we dive into the apps, I'm like super interested in your story and everything. So would you mind sharing like how you even got started?
Yeah, so actually I started in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So I came into this space, and the thing is I created my first Shopify app like in 2017. We didn't have a lot of documentation from Shopify at the time.
Yes.
And so I built one. I built it alone, and I grew it to $1,000 per month.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, like I was stuck. I didn't know why, but like I wasn't growing anymore. And like 1 year later, or something like that, Shopify changed something on the platform, and I had to shut down the app. And so at that moment, I thought that I was able to create more Shopify apps, that it was easy and everything. So I tried to build a second one, and it didn't work. Mm-hmm. So I said, okay, let's try a third one. And so I tried the third one, and it didn't work. And so at that moment, I told myself like, okay, it's not for me. I stopped working on Shopify apps. I did many other things. And then in 2020, I started again because I was like finishing school, and I needed to find a job and everything. And instead, I said, okay, let's just start from scratch. Let's build another Shopify app. I had more knowledge and everything, and that's when I started White Bundle in May 2020.
Mm-hmm. And that's also the most successful at this point, right?
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm so glad you didn't quit. Okay, so you said 2017. How did you even get to the idea of building a Shopify app? I think that would be pretty interesting. Have you been like freelancing before? Did you just think, oh, I want to build apps? But then, yeah, maybe you can explain a bit on that.
Yeah. Okay. So we have to go back a little bit before. I was 13 when I started to learn how to code. Mm-hmm. I started with a French website, if people know it. It was called Le Site du Zéro, which is basically saying like the website of zero, like when you start from scratch and everything. Mm-hmm. Well, and at first I learned like how to code for video games. And, I wanted to create stuff on video games and everything. That's why I learned. And the thing is, I always liked building projects, apps, and stuff like that. And so, I was not directly into e-commerce space and everything. I started with video games. Then once I saw that people were making money and creating stuff outside of the video games, I started to do it myself. Mm-hmm. And so, I watched movies like the social networks, the story of Facebook and everything. And I wanted to do the same, so I wanted to build like a social network. I spent time like working on something, and it never worked. And the thing is, I almost gave up on building a business. So at the time, I wanted to build a business, but I also wanted to work at a big company as a coder or something like to do code and at some big company. And the thing is, in 2017, I had to do my first internship. I was studying like engineering, and I had to do the first internship. And the problem with that is I did it at a big French company, so it was great, like everything I wanted. It wasn't for coding and everything, but it was in the tech space, so that was great. And the thing is, I didn't like it.
Yes.
It was a bit weird because I've always wanted that in my life. And now that I had it, I didn't like it. And it's not a problem. Like the people were great. Everything was great. but I felt something like it wasn't for me. And so, when you grow and like you do what you always wanted to do, and like suddenly you see that it's not for you, something happens in your head, and you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And so, I had the second thing. I had also the thing about, growing a business. And so what I did is I started to see on Twitter, on YouTube, on Google, and everywhere, like how to build a business. How can I make money? Because I had only 3 years left to build something, because I didn't want to work where I was currently like working and like studying and everything. And so I came into like e-commerce space because at that time, many people were talking about like e-commerce, Shopify, drop shipping. And so I started to look into it. But I wasn't really into e-commerce. Like I was into like coding and everything. And so, yeah, I started to join a few communities, like French communities about e-commerce. And I started to help people like for free. They were not coders. Like they didn't do any code. And so sometimes they wanted something on the store that didn't exist. And I was here like, hey, I can do it for free if you want to. Like I was just helping people.
Mm-hmm.
And, as I was getting more and more like work to do, and people were asking for more things, I started to freelancing, asking for money. And that was it. And, slowly you start to build apps because it's easier, you make more money, and you spend less time with the clients.
Yes. Wow, super interesting. So yeah, I think what you said in terms of job expectations and then reality, that's pretty interesting. I also had a similar experience back then. I actually studied mechanical engineering and then didn't like it after I had the degree.
Okay.
And yeah, I think also what you said in terms of, okay, you just tried different things and then eventually it became e-commerce, Shopify. And if I understood you correctly, it was like, okay, a bit of freelancing first, helping people for free. And then you kind of saw what people struggle with, what problems they have. And that's eventually how you came to the idea of building apps. Is that about right?
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
Awesome. Okay. And did you also think, like, this is just out of curiosity, did you also think about building different types of apps first? Maybe like Android apps, iOS apps, WordPress, or was it always Shopify because you knew there's like demand? Just curious.
Yeah, it was always Shopify. Honestly, I didn't, I'm not a good developer. Like I'm not the best one. So, when it comes to like writing code, I didn't know a lot of things because I started to work like to do like coding and everything because I had to do what I wanted. I had to. Yeah. But at some point, I started to, instead of doing code, I started to learn marketing, how to market stuff, and so I stopped learning. And the problem with that is when you are in the tech space and you stop learning, what you know today, like in 2 years or 3 years, it's already like you have to learn new things, Right. And so for example, I didn't know how to build apps like Android apps. So it wasn't even a question. Like, okay, I can build like apps on Shopify or something. I knew Shopify space. I won't even like think about it too much. I would just go into what I already know. And that was it.
Okay, makes sense, yes. All right, Matt, I think, that's a pretty inspiring story and explains how you got to the Shopify app development space. But now, especially many on the viewers or many of my viewers might be interested in building their own app. So I think there are 3 key areas we could go over, like how you come up with an idea, then the actual development, and then also what it means in terms of ongoing support, maintenance, marketing. So how about we get started with the idea? Do you have any thoughts on how to come up with a good idea in the first place?
Yeah. First of all, I like to say that I don't come up with ideas. I come up with problems. And that was the first mistake I did when I started in like apps and building apps and everything. Is that usually I thought that in order to make money with an app, you had to find like the next billion idea. You have to find one idea, and once you find it, you will build something like Facebook. The next Facebook or something like that. Mm-hmm. But it isn't true. Like in reality, to find ideas, what I do is like I will just try to connect with a few people in the category. So, for example, for me, it was like e-commerce for French people, like you start to contact them, to understand them, like what they want and everything. And at some point, you will notice a few problems because everyone has problems. So you can just find one problem. And once you see that many people have this problem, you can say, okay, maybe I can start a business that will fix this problem. And that's your idea. And basically, sometimes like you have one problem, but for one problem, you can have many different ideas. It's not one idea for one problem. So that's how I start, like how I get ideas. I try to connect with the people I'm targeting, and I try to understand what are the problems.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, I really like this problem-centric approach. This also kind of leads into my next question. You said you would talk to people, hear what kind of problems they have. And okay, now let's say you have an idea for an app, because like there's this problem a few people would have. Do you have like a process to validate that idea? Because I mean, you talk to like 3 people and they all have the same problem, but doesn't necessarily mean they're like 1,000 or 100,000. So any thoughts on that as well?
Yeah, exactly. So once I have my idea and I know that I might have something that would make money, I will start to see if more people have this problem. So the first thing is just trying to talk to more people, like just to see if they have the problems. Mm-hmm. So for that, you have communities, you have live events, it depends on who you're targeting, but you have many different things. And usually in your own country, you have like different events, and that's where I suggest to start. And then I will also look at like how people react when I talk about the idea or the problems and everything. Usually some people will say, hey, I like the idea, or yes, I have this problem. But they're not really like they're saying, yes, I have this problem. But then if you don't send them a message in the days or like in the coming days, they won't come back to you. And for example, for White Bundle, when I had the idea, and I was talking to people about the problems and the idea that I had and everything, there were the people contacting me to know when the app was available, because the problem was deep enough, was big enough for them to actually like find a solution. You have different kind of problems. You have problems that people, I have this problem, but I don't care if it's not fixed. True. And you have the kind of problems that if there is a solution, then I want it, no matter what, I want it. And so usually I talk to people, and like if the people they contact you themselves, if they want to know more about the project and they're not just like here because you ask them to be here, then it means you have something. And usually when you have people with big problems and acting like that, it means usually that more people have this problem. And then what I will do is usually I will try to create like a mock-up of the app. So, you have the idea, but you don't have the actual product because it takes time to build it and everything. And so what I do is I try to create a mock-up. So like I will go to Photoshop, I will create like a different mock-up just to create something as if the app was already live, and then I will contact people with this mock-up, and it will be easier for them to like actually see it, to understand it, to understand what you mean. And usually it will attract people easier. And I will do the same thing, like post in communities. Well, today I can talk to my current users. It depends on what you can do, but usually it's showing people that you have something, that you have the product. And based on that, I will do the same thing. I will like contact them, see what I think about it, and if they are willing to use the app or not. And that's how I validate.
Yes. Yeah, I like that a lot. It's actually pretty smart. So okay, to wrap it up, you try to get some early market feedback before you build the thing. Then you see how people resonate. And if they're like super excited, if they contact you, that's a pretty good sign. Then you create a design, landing page, Photoshop mockup, see if people sign up for that or show even more interest when you show that in communities. And then eventually, okay, at some point there has to be the decision, okay, I'm going to build this depending on how much feedback you get. Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, pretty smart. Yeah. Sell it before you build it. I'm a big fan of that too.
Yeah. And I mean, for me, it's the only way. You have to go, like you have to sell it before building it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're totally right. Because also with building, I mean, you're spending so much time on building an app, right? So there's this risk. Yes. And if you can mitigate some of that, that's like perfectly valid, I think.
Yeah, and
Okay.
sometimes you like building something, and you start building and you feel like it's not perfect enough, so you will just build again and again, and you will never release it, and you think you have something, but like no one wanted. So that's sometimes the problem that happens.
I see. Is that also what happens with, or what happened with your first app attempts?
Yeah, that happens to my second and third app. And
Mm-hmm.
it happens also, like it happened to many people. So that's why I'm saying that. Like usually they want to make the product perfect, and they just, building. I need to add a new feature because they won't like it. I need to add another one. And like you're building something that you think is perfect, but it's perfect for you, not perfect for the people that will actually use your app.
Okay, makes sense. Yes. Yeah, because obviously you're more in love with your own product than other people might be.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, this was also kind of my next question. I was interested in what is different with your most successful app as like in compared to the previous apps. But from what you just said, it sounds like it was just product market fit and more demand than for the others.
Yeah, I think there are probably two things that I can say. The first one is obviously the idea. For the previous app, I was more like, hey, I have to find an idea. Not for the first one, I want to say, but for the second app and the third one, I was more about like, hey, I think this idea will be great. I need to build it. They will come, they will like it. For the first app, I wasn't the one with the idea. I knew a few people in the community, and they said, hey, you have to build this app because people will like it. So I wasn't even the first one, and that's why probably it worked in the first place. Like, we grew it to $1,000 per month. I think it's because some merchants told me to build it. Like, I didn't come up with the idea. So the first thing is that if you like follow the process of finding a problem, trying to validate it, and then you build, then I think that you can fail. Because if you follow the process, like, you have people to get to use your product and everything. And the second thing is actually like tracking your data. And I think it's what happened to my first app. I was at 1K per month, and I wasn't growing anymore. And I was like, hey, I don't know why I'm not growing. And I would try different things, like, can I add this? Can I add this feature? And it didn't work. But the problem was I was just guessing, maybe it's that, maybe it's that. But if I had like added something to track the data, to understand what people are doing, what they like, what features they're using, what is the conversion rate, what is the activation, all the steps in the funnels, all the features, everything, maybe I would have seen that, they were not using this feature, and so I had to change it. Or maybe the onboarding was not good enough. And so, tracking your data is important because you can talk to people, but I think it's not enough. And it's important to get like data with numbers and everything, so you can improve that. And for White Bundle, for the story, we had like, in the beginning, I started to track my data, and I noticed, for example, that the conversion rate was very low, and so I knew that I had to fix it. And so I did many things to fix it, and then we fixed it, and we started to get more and more users, So I think it's important.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so it's product market fit, and then listening to the users, to your data.
Yes, exactly.
Man, I can imagine that being tricky because like from my experience in business, like, okay, I have this YouTube channel. We also run paid advertisements. We have our learning platform, and sometimes there's so much data coming in, and then just more data doesn't necessarily lead to better decisions, right? Because you also have to make sense of the data.
Yes.
Is there like any metric you would look for specifically? Is it just the conversion rate, or that's super interesting, I think.
Yeah, you have many things. So you have first of all, you have the conversion rate. I even say like the installation rate for Shopify app. So you can see people, like how many people clicked on your app listing on the Shopify app store. From these people, only a few will install the app. Like at that moment, you have the number. You can track it, and you can try to improve it by changing your listing. So this is the first thing. Then you have people coming to your app. You have the activation rate. Like how many people, like from those who come on your app, how many of them are actually like using your product?
Yeah.
So it's the activation rate. So for that, you need to see like when can we say that the people use your product? Like what some point? For example, for White Bundle, it's when they added the first bundle on the product, right?
I see. Yeah.
And so they have to go through many steps to use your app, and so you can track it and see, okay, so at this step, only 20 people, like 20% of people are actually converting. What can I do to improve that? And then you start to improve. And then you have the conversion rate. Okay, so people are using the app, but now they have to pay for it. So what can we do to like increase the number of people that we convert at the end of the free trial, although that we convert from free plan to like paying plan in the sense.
I see. And, okay, so it's every step in the funnel, basically.
Yeah, all the steps of the funnels, and then you can do something like tracking the different features. For example, like if you're building a feature or like a specific feature and you see that nobody's using it, then stop doing that because it won't attract you more users. Yes. You know, you have to do more things for people that are actually using your app. Like if 99% of the people are using a specific feature that you built like that, and you see that everyone's using it, then maybe you should improve this feature, add more of them, and so you will like get more people because they will love the app and you will reach the PMF, the product market fit.
Okay, I think that's great advice. Awesome. Okay, maybe to wrap this whole topic of idea finding up, are there any, from a business perspective, are there any characteristics that you would say a good app has in terms of like how competitive it is or how much support demand, how much maintenance? Is there like anything you would pay attention to as well, like on top of product market fit?
Yeah, so like to be honest, I don't directly look at like is it a good app to build. I'm more about like do we have people who need something that the current apps don't solve. So like for example, the bundle space was already very competitive when I started to go into it, but what I knew is that people needed something that didn't exist. So even if there were a lot of competitors, I knew that I could do something because people needed something. So this is the first part that you have to look into. Then the other thing is that you have to check if you already have a market for that. Because maybe like if you build a Shopify app and you know people need it, like you know 10 people need it, but you go into the Shopify app store and you see that like you don't have many apps for that, or like you don't have many reviews for that, then maybe I will question myself and say, okay, so I know that some people need it, but I see on the Shopify app store that these apps don't have a lot of reviews, that we don't have a lot of apps for that. So maybe we don't have like a big market for that. And so I will grow like at some point, and then I will be stuck because nobody wants it. Like we don't have a lot of people. But yeah, it's more about validating the problem and the idea rather than checking if the market is good enough. I mean, if we're talking about Shopify apps, you know, building a Shopify app, usually you have merchants, you know, that they need Shopify apps, so you don't have problems like that. If we were talking about like, you know, classic SaaS or something like that, then yes, maybe checking the market, checking the people, checking if they have money and everything might be very interesting to look. But for a Shopify app, I feel like it's more about you find something that is valuable, and I'm sure you can grow it.
Okay, so full focus on problem solving and validating ideas.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. I love it. Okay, so let's keep it at that for idea finding. How about, I think the next big topic on my list was like development. So we can keep this sweet and short. What tech stack are you using? PHP, Node.js, Ruby? Yeah.
This section is funny, actually. So White Bundle was built in PHP. No framework, no nothing, just raw PHP. And same from Frontend, we have JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and nothing. Like we don't have React, we don't have Vue, we have nothing for that. The reason behind that is I know nothing. I know only PHP.
Okay, yeah.
So that's funny because yeah. And the second app, like we have a second app, it's in Laravel in PHP, but I think we'll talk about it later. It's in Laravel, but still PHP. And the thing is, you know, I already talked to someone like a friend and was a great like developer. And one day he asked me like, how did you build your app? Like what programming language? And I said PHP, you know, raw PHP. And he said, like raw PHP, when you have Node.js, when you have everything. And he said, look at my apps, like look how I build it, how it's beautiful and everything. And I told him like, okay, but how many users do you have?
Yeah.
And he had none, you know. And I say, I have like 1,000 users. So, your customers, like, they don't care about the programming language. They only care about, like, is your app doing what they want? Like, is your app giving value to them and stuff like that? And so obviously you can, like, you have to use something that you already know that you can use to build. Like, I'm not asking you to, like, if you know only HTML, CSS, you will try to build an app, obviously.
Yeah.
And if you know, like, languages like Node.js or framework, it's even better. But what I'm saying here is that it shouldn't be a problem if you don't know, like, the most recent programming language or the new programming language. Like, just go with what you already know, and it will be enough. And then later you can improve and change your app.
Yes, great. Couldn't have said that better. Okay, so then are you still working alone, or do you have like a team of developers at this point, or how's that working?
Yeah. Yes. Right now we have 2 developers. So, when I built the second app, I wanted to start building a team because, like, doing all the job myself was a bit complicated since I had marketing, management, and everything. So yeah, I hired 2 developers, and we didn't do it in PHP only, but Laravel, because it was easier for everyone. And so yeah, I hired 2 people. They're working on Laravel, and yeah, I wanted also to understand, like, how to work with developers, because when you develop yourself, it's not the same thing when you have to manage developers. So I wanted to learn, so I put them on the second app for them to build a second app so I could learn with them. And it was a bit complicated at first because all the processes, the management, everything was different, but we managed to do it.
Okay, that's awesome. Okay, so now it's like 2 developers and you on top. You're
Exactly.
also coding yourself, right? So
yes.
Okay, that's awesome. Okay, so then my last question regarding the development. I mean, we don't have to go into the details. Everyone can read up the API documentation, watch some videos, check out your Twitter. But in terms of development, what would you say, how much resources does it take to build an app? And I mean, this is like obviously a tricky question, because if you have something like with image processing and whatnot, it's like way more complicated than maybe something with orders, or you know what I'm saying. But yeah, would you say, like, there's like, how much time should I plan? Or if I would just use developers, how much budget should I plan? Maybe like 50,000, 30,000, 6 months of my time. Like, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a bit complicated because obviously it will depend on what app you want to build. Like, where are you hiring the developers? If you hire developers in US and if you hire developers in India, it won't be the same price. So it depends on many things, but I can talk about, like, time. The first thing is that your first version of the app shouldn't take like more than 1 month.
1 month, okay.
Like, yeah. It means, for example, for White Bundle, it took only 2 weeks. 2 weeks. So the thing is, if you have to spend more than 1 month building your product, it means that you didn't create like an MVP, a minimum viable product. You're spending too much time on your product, and you should, like, just ship it, like, faster, because you will be able to track your data to improve it over time, but you shouldn't spend more than 1 month. Okay. Obviously, if you have like a very complicated app and it doesn't work, if you don't spend like 2 months on it, no problem with that. But usually what I suggest is to spend like the least time as possible, so you can track the data, improve it, like that.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Just a question here. The 1 month, is that including the market feedback, or is this like only development time?
Only development time. It means that before that, you need to spend even more time for market validation and everything. What I say usually is, like, if you spend a lot of time doing your market research, trying to find IGs and everything, the more time you spend, like, the more I don't know how we can say that, but like, your app will be more successful if you spend more time trying to find the IG, because you will better understand the people, the market, the needs, the way they talk, what they really need, everything. And so that's important to spend like more time on that part, even if it's not what developers like, but you have to do it. And and then, when you know what people want exactly, like, you can even be in their head, like, how to build a feature, why they will like it, how they will like it, sometimes even what they will say, what words they will use for specific features and everything. So that's important. But after that, spend least time, like, try to ship as fast as possible. because when you're building a business, you're not a developer anymore, you're a founder. And if you're a founder, you have to spend more time where the money is, and the money is not in the code. The money is with the people, with the marketing, with everything. So that's it. That's right. For the money, it depends when you want to hire someone. The time, I can say it's very I can give a range, but it'd be probably from 1,000 to 100,000. I don't know.
I see. Yes, and we can definitely talk more about making money, that focus, and so forth at the end a little bit more maybe. But yeah, I think that was a great input in terms of the development, the time frame. 1 month. That's a pretty good estimate, I think. And okay, now the next topic or the next thing would be marketing and ongoing support. I think that's going to be one thing many people don't even have on their radar. So maybe we can just start talking about your growth strategy, because you said you have how many users do you have right now with across all the apps?
We have 2,700 users.
Okay, and this is mainly coming from App Store listings. Do you run paid advertisements? Is it your Twitter account? Is it where are all these people coming from?
Okay, so the first people, the first users were coming from Facebook communities. Mm-hmm. Then, communities are great because usually the word of mouth is amazing, So we have maybe 30% of our users today that are coming from word of mouth. So it can be many things, but usually, people, they talk to some other merchants that they know. They are in communities, and so it spread the words, and that's how it works. So we have Facebook communities, we have word of mouth, we have app partnerships. So we do partnerships with other Shopify apps, and we do co-marketing activities. We do integration, so we can send users to the other one. Mm-hmm. We have influencers, so people made videos on YouTube about White Bundle and the apps. We have obviously the App Store. So when people are searching for an app on the App Store, when they type, for example, bundle or something. And we also have from Shopify, we have Shopify recommendation, because when you create a Shopify store and you have your apps and everything, Shopify will suggest you some apps that stores like yours, what other apps that they are using. And so we have Shopify app recommendation. And then we have some people finding the apps on Twitter, some people finding the app from YouTube, from many other parts, but mostly it's our partnerships, influencer, Facebook communities, word of mouth, and App Store.
Okay, sounds great. So from what I heard, it's mostly organic marketing, and not so much paid, right?
Yes, we didn't do any paid marketing.
Wow, that's amazing. Considering the amount of users you have and revenue coming in, that's must be widely profitable. I like that. Okay, now with that out of the way, how about ongoing work? How many support requests do you get per day or per week, if I may ask?
We have something around 20 tickets, 25 tickets per day. It depends. Usually we have more tickets, per day. We have more tickets during the week and less at the end of the week, in the beginning of the week and less at the end of the week. Mm-hmm. But 20, 25, something like that, tickets.
Okay. Would you also be working on tickets during weekends, or do you say Monday, Friday is business hours and then?
No, we work on it 7/7, every day. We think not 24 hours a day, but we're trying to reply to everyone. And it's important because I think the growth of the Shopify apps the support is very important for Shopify app growth.
Yeah.
This is usually when you have many apps on the Shopify App Store doing the same thing, you don't have a lot of ways to get yourself out of the crowd. And so Shopify support is a way to do it. If you have great customer support, people will notice it. Also, this is usually why people are leaving review on the Shopify App Store. And reviews on the Shopify App Store will help you have a better ranking on the Shopify app or on the Shopify App Store, and so you will attract more people. So that's a loop like that, and so it's very important. So we were playing every day.
Okay, I see. Okay, and I mean I also like it that you offer 24/7 support pretty much. But how about your weekends? I mean, you also have some like private life, free time. Are you already using a support team, or are you doing everything yourself? Like, how does it work?
No. Yeah, I have someone for customer support, and I reply sometimes like technical support and stuff like that. But usually, I have someone who reply at support.
Okay, I see. And in terms of your apps, maybe that's also one thing in terms of like what type of app you have. Would you say, okay, so your app also interacts with the front end, right? So it has to integrate with a lot of themes and different page builders and whatnot. Would you say that creates a lot more support demand than an app that only acts on the back end? Maybe something that's doing maybe invoices for orders or something like that?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
But sometimes I say you have to choose. Like, do you want, because when you get more support tickets, you also get like more reviews. It's something, because when people like they receive great customer support and they're happy and everything, they will leave a review. So we have many support tickets, but we also receive many reviews. You can have like the contrary. You can have like fewer like customer support tickets, but you will also have like fewer reviews. So you have to find like a balance or something. But yeah, if you have something on front end, and depends on where you're placing everything, we need to place the bundles in the product form of the theme. So usually we have a lot of problems because we have other apps that integrates on the product form. We have different themes. Some people, they will even change the themes. And so, yeah, many things that we have to look into. And so, sometimes we have like the same problem across many users, but it's not the same way that we'll fix them.
Okay, I got it. Like, okay, so many support tickets is basically a curse and a gift. One point, okay, you got to have more support, but you will also get more reviews, more customer feedback, everything. Okay, yeah, makes perfectly sense. Honestly, I think, Matt, this was so great. We've been talking about like how to come up with an idea, the development stack, and what's next to come. I especially like that you mentioned the support volume, because people have to understand that this is an ongoing thing. It's not like passive income. You throw up the app and then you're good forever. Nothing like that. Would you also be open to talk a bit about like your personal life? I think that would be super interesting to people. I mean, you can decide question by question if you want to answer that or not. But are you open for it in general?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, let's go.
All right, cool. So yeah, I mean, you've been talking about that you're like 25, you're making like 30,000 in recurring revenue per month, which is awesome. That's like, how much is that? Like 360 per year. Has making some money affected maybe your confidence, or how you present yourself, or how you feel in life? Let us know some thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think that like having money, about confidence, no, it didn't change something, because I was already like confident. I knew what I was doing and everything. So it didn't change here. What it changed is more about like what you can do in life. I was a student. I never worked like a normal job, But so I live with my girlfriend. And for example, like when we want to go to the restaurants, when we want to like take a vacation, or I don't know, like we can do it, So for that, money is very it's amazing. And after that, I'm not someone who buys a lot of stuff. I like experience, so like good hotel, for example, or like good restaurants, something like that. But I'm not into like I will buy the new phone, or I will buy something. So when you have that, and when you have the money, and it helps, obviously, but it didn't change for me. It didn't change a lot of things. Like I still living my life like normal life. I'm not into like buying expensive stuff, and that's it.
Okay, yeah, I like that. I mean, you also seem like a super down-to-earth guy. But I mean, even if you want to spend the money, I mean, it's yours. You can buy a sports car. You can do whatever you want.
I could.
But yeah,
I don't even have a car. I'm not driving a lot. So my girlfriend has a car, and it's funny because when I have to take the car to go somewhere, like I have to ask my girlfriend to use her car, because I don't have one. I don't use it a lot. I have the train like near me, so I can use it. And usually, I don't use the car.
Okay, I see. And how about plans for the future? Could you still imagine like running the app business for a longer while, or would you also potentially look into selling at one point? I mean, 300K in revenue per year, that's like, you can get a 5 or 10x multiple on that, I'm sure. So that would be like 1.5 million at once, or even more.
Yes. Yes. All right. So when I started in Shopify app space, I wanted to build something like 4 to 5 Shopify apps. So like to have a pool of Shopify apps. And then I was like, okay, once I have that, I think that like it was enough for me and I would sell. Today, I'm more about like, I'm open to opportunities, you know. So I have the Shopify apps. I can see myself like growing more Shopify apps. It's not a problem. I can see myself like selling if I have a good offer, and like after that I can do something like even bigger. I can see myself like helping more Shopify app owners, you know, the same thing I do on Twitter, but like with a bigger vision or something like that. Yeah, honestly, I'm open. Like I'll see what happens, and if it has to stay like that, then it will stay like that. Like, it's not a problem. I can continue like for years like that.
I see. So for you, it's more about like entrepreneurship, freedom to choose on like what projects you're passionate about, and then without having to worry about the bills, how you're going to pay them.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And I think with that, we can pretty much wrap it up. I mean, you had like awesome input on idea finding, on development, on maintenance, personal life, and very much appreciate your honesty and being so open about your numbers and everything. So yeah, I think a fair thing to do would be, do you have anything you want to advertise or to say, or your Twitter shout out, paid consultancy offer, anything? Just like the time is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, follow me on Twitter. I'm sharing everything. So pretty much what I'm saying, like in this video, like explaining how I'm building my apps, and like every day I'm sharing. You can get like insights. I'm sharing like every day the growth, what's happening, the problems that we're facing, and everything. So go follow me on Twitter. So it's DSMATIE if you want to follow me on Twitter.
Yeah, it's going to be in the description. Yes. No worries about that.
Perfect. Perfect. And yes, see you there.
Oh, that was it? That was it.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Okay. Main call to action, guys. Follow Mat on Twitter. I'm sure there's something to learn. And then, yeah, Mat, thanks so much for your time and have an amazing rest of your day. Yeah,
thank you for your time too. Bye.
And you guys have an amazing rest of your day as well. And if you have any thoughts or questions or feedback, just leave those in the comment section. I'm sure Mat is going to read those too. So then thanks for listening. Hope you found this interesting. And I'm just going to catch you in the next one. Bye.